Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It is So What Day here on the Sulky Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch account. So let me know where you're watching from today. And welcome, everyone. I have some fun summer projects to share with you today. One is a garment, one is an accessory, and one is home decor. So we're covering all the bases today. Before we get started, though, as you know, we are headed to Bali this October with Sulky and craft tours. You also can come to Bali with us. So check out this tour. I posted a link directly to our craft tours page in the description of today's post. So you can check out this tour and all the excursions that it has to offer and everything that is included. It is an amazing, amazing package deal. And you can do a land-only price if you want to, maybe you have a lot of air miles that you can use to get yourself there and then join us at the airport. There's all kinds of options depending on your budget and depending on what you want to do and how you want to join us. So this is going to be an amazing tour where we're really focusing on batik fabrics. We're going to go to a batik expo. We're going to learn how to create our own sample of batik fabric. And then I'm going to take everybody through a sewing workshop where we can either use that fabric or some other fabric that maybe we purchase at the Batik Expo to create something really special to sort of commemorate our trip and our travels together. So it's going to be a really, really unique experience, and I hope that you are able to join us there. So in the spirit of our Bali trip, I decided to make kind of a flowy Bali-inspired garment that is super simple to make, fits any figure because it's really flowy, and there's really no, collars, sleeves, zippers, plackets, nothing difficult about this at all, other than maybe trying to manage the fabric that you choose for your garment. This would work really as a beach cover-up, or even like a summer cardigan that you can throw over to sort of layer your outfits. Maybe you have, just basic jeans and t-shirt, and then this can kind of dress it up really quickly and easily. So I'm going to take you through that. And I'm also going to share a really great project that we have available as a sew-along kit experience. And what I mean by that is if you grab up the kit for this project that I'm going to talk about, which is a crossbody case, it comes with an entire video tutorial that takes you through the project from start to finish. You also get a flippable pattern booklet with the pattern that you can view online. You also get the printable pattern, of course, so if you'd rather print it out and have it next to you at your sewing machine, you can do that. It's a really, really great comprehensive kit that comes with all the support that you need to create it. So I'm going to take you through that too. And let's just start off with our Pinnacle table runner. This is the home deck project I was talking to you about. And I'm not going to take you through it today because this is our next free webcast happening in August. August 9th, I want to say, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be taking you through this Pinnacle table runner project. This table runner can be created with about 6 or so different design combinations once you learn how the block comes together. And we're going to create this block together using a specialty ruler that's designed by the Crafty Gemini. Who out there is familiar with the Crafty Gemini? I really don't know anybody who hasn't heard of her. Her name is Vanessa Vargas Wilson. We go way, way back to my Sew It All days on PBS. She was one of my guests on that show. And I just fell in love with her and her spirit and how just enthusiastic she is about sewing and about so many different things. She is, a homesteader, a gardener. She homeschools her kids. She does it all. And she creates some really cool sewing projects to share with us. So we actually have some Crafty Gemini thread packs at sulky.com. And we also carry some of her specialty rulers. We have presented this Pinnacle table runner in a couple different ways. And this is yet another way with a beautiful fabric combination that we put together for the kits. So we're calling this one Floral Farmhouse because you could see all of these small floral prints, and it just has that sort of farmhouse or, Target magnolia vibe that we're all loving so much. And it has these beautiful muted tones that are perfect for end of summer, beginning of fall. And it goes with so many different decor styles with, this neutral sort of muted palette. So I think you're really going to enjoy the kit that goes along with this webcast. So be sure to register for the webcast at sewingonline.sulky.com. I put a link so you can directly register right on the page. Add it to your education library over there at sewingonline.sulky.com, and then you will get notified when we're about to go live in August. If you can't join live, remember you can you can register for our events anyway to get the freebies, to get the video, to get all of that support that you need when you're working your way through your kit. And this is a free event. So all you have to do is register for free. It'll be stored there in your personal library, in your account, on our education platform. And if you can't join live, you just log in after the event at any time, and it becomes this on-demand video for you that you can watch whenever it's convenient. So be sure to register. You'll get a free design that you can use on your table runner or for your upcoming fall makes. It's called the Mum Spray. You can find out more about that design once you register. You'll get it in a hand embroidery format and a machine embroidery format. So depending on however you like to embroider or embellish, you will be prepared with that. And the Mum Spray is this floral design that's in the same colors as this table runner. So I think this would look really pretty if you kind of isolated an area where some fabrics come together and add a little bit of machine embroidery or a little bit of handwork. You can even probably resize the design a little bit so it fits inside one of these diamond sort of mirrors, right? So lots of different ways you can use that design. It certainly doesn't need to be used on this project because I think you will also like putting it on napkins, putting it on towels, things like that for your upcoming fall makes. All right, so make sure to register for your Pinnacle table runner. You also can use the block designs and create a larger project, like a wall hanging or a small quilt, or even up to a large quilt if you want to make a bazillion of these blocks. So it's a really versatile pattern. I'll take you through the whole thing, and then we're going to hand quilt or machine quilt or both using a really heavy weight 12 weight filaine thread. I love how this thread kind of gives it a little bit of a vintage quality. And you can see I've used a number of different colors of this thread because in the kit, you'll get a 6-pack of threads that coordinate with this fabric collection, and you can switch between thread colors based on the quilting that you're doing or the block that you're working on. And so you can feature a lot of different colors with the quilting. You can really see it really well on the back side, of course, where I've just got a neutral gray, really, really small blender print as the backing. All right. So, and I should mention that this is all made out of 5-inch charm squares. So in the kit, you'll get your charm squares, and then you'll get some fabric to use for the backgrounds, right? Because each one of these blocks has a background print to it. So you'll get some fabric for that. You might have enough left over of that to create your binding, but you might also want to choose a different binding print out of your stash or that you get at the fabric store to really set off the table runner. And then you'll also need your own backing fabric. So not to be confused with background, right? The background fabric is for the blocks. The backing fabric is for the table runner. I just went with the really simple solid that I had on hand. And then, of course, I used a coordinating print for my binding. So check that out. In the kit, you also get a 50 weight cotton thread spool in a neutral gray, and that's what we're going to use for the construction of those blocks. So the kit is a really amazing deal. I think it's only $38.99, $39.99, and it's on sale already. So you can register, grab up your kit, and you'll be ready to join us on August 9th at 2 p.m. All right. So lots of people saying would be a great first quilting project. Absolutely. You'll learn how to work with these specialty rulers. And some people are like, oh, maybe I don't need this specialty ruler. I can just cut these diagonal, pieces, what have you, that I need. But oh my gosh, I'm going to tell you how easy it is to use this ruler. It's designed specifically to fit those 5-inch charm squares. So you have your seam allowance built in. Your points don't get cut off or sewn through in your seam allowance. It's really, really designed smartly to create these great sort of window pane-y blocks. And it just makes your life so much easier and quicker. And it's not a huge investment, this ruler. You'll get the ruler included with your kit as well. So I'll show you how to use that. And when you do use that ruler, you have no fabric waste in these charm squares. So I think that's a really important sort of philosophy with the Crafty Gemini, is to use every bit of your fabrics and don't have a lot of waste going into a landfill or what have you. All right. Loretta says, I love charm squares. Very pretty table runner. Charm squares are so versatile. And Linda says, great Christmas gifts. Absolutely. And once you make this floral farmhouse version of the Pinnacle table runner, you can use your ruler, you can use your pattern, and you can go create so many different ones. You can even isolate a couple of the blocks, make some placemats, make a mug rug. So it's a really great, block. Once you've learned it and once you have those tools, you can go and, it's a springboard for lots of other things. Yes, with so many options to personalize. Absolutely. Colleen says, I like the fabrics. Me too. They're really, a really nice muted fall-ish palette. So I think it goes with a lot of different decor. And, since it's so neutral, would look really, really great on anybody's dining room table, or maybe you have like a buffet type table or a media table under your TV or something like that. And it would look really, really pretty that way. All right, so let's switch gears and get back to the beach with our beach cover-up. This is the cover-up I created, and you use just 2 yards of fabric for this whole thing. 2 yards of fabric, some thread, and get to the sewing machine. So this is really designed for woven fabric. It's not designed really for a knit. You probably could create it out of a stretchy fabric, but it might grow on you as you're wearing it. So I chose a really flowy, like polyester blend fabric. I really, really wanted to make this out of a batik, just a lightweight quilting cotton type batik fabric, and it would have been really beautiful. However, I made it out of this polyester blend. So I will note that while wearing it over my swimsuit, which incidentally, I never thought I would be showing myself in a swimsuit here on Facebook Live and YouTube live stream. But here we are, guys. The things I'll do to share a sewing project with you. But at any rate, as you can see, this has great coverage. You can't even tell I'm really wearing a swimsuit in this picture. But it's also very open. So really what's creating the sleeve is about 3 inches of stitching that we sew together under, our armhole area. And then the rest of it is totally open aside from the tie in the front. So you can see that this would be really great over a swimsuit, or again, wear a cute t-shirt and jeans and put this over the top, and it really just kind of takes you out on the town, right? So you could make this out of a nice, pretty sheer fabric. Maybe it has a border print fabric. That would look really great. It would be like it was designed for this pattern. So a woven fabric that's a little bit more stable than a knit would be because of how we're sewing it together, how we're wearing it, how it's draping. All right. So in hindsight, my polyester blend was not super great as a swimwear cover up because it doesn't breathe very well. And even though it's really nice and flowy and open, I was getting kind of hot wearing it. Now, all that to be said, I also was under some lighting and other factors, things like this. So in hindsight, I would really go with a cotton fabric, something that's breathable, but still lightweight. Even maybe a cotton sateen or a cotton voile would be really nice. That's a nice lightweight cotton fabric. Works really well here. All right. I also wanted to mention that as I'm going through these images, you might think to yourself, wow, these seams look really puckery. Somebody actually said that on our blog post, with which the full tutorial for this is on our blog at blog.sulky.com. So you can find the full instructions, all the measurements you need, all the cutting instructions, and all of that is on the Sulky blog. So you don't need to take notes here while we're chatting today. You have that resource for you when we're done, and you can go over to the blog and get the full instructions. At any rate, somebody posted on the blog that all of the seams looked really puckery. And I thought to myself, what's going on here? Because, I mean, I'm holding it in my hand here and none of my seams are puckery. They're nice and flat. I mean, my hem is nice and flat. Everything looks really great to my eye here in person. So I went back to the images, and I think why it looks puckery is because of the shadow that the stitch is making. Like, I didn't have really great lighting when I was taking the pictures, apparently. So I would like to go back and fix those. But, if, you know, unfortunately, my garment is made. So I'll have to update it with a new garment and all new photos in order to do so. But I think it's just one of those things where you can't really make it look the same way that you're seeing it in person as you can either in video or on screen. But I just wanted to show you all that, I mean, all of my seams are nice and straight, not puckered at all. And I'm going to show you how I put it all together and how to kind of manage the slippery nature of these types of fabrics. I just noticed a stray thread, so of course I've got to trim that off. Can't let it go. I might never find it again. All right, so, but if you are working with something slippery, I'll go through how to make your seams nice and straight. And if you can forgive those shadows or whatever is causing it to look puckery on the blog, then please forgive the poor photography that I think is to blame. I mean, even my shoulder seam, I mean, when I'm showing it to you, it does look a little bit puckery, but to my eye here, it does not. And I think it's just, you know, how it's flowing, draping, and the shadows. Heather says it almost looks like the colors make it look puckery. And maybe that is the case too, because of this sort of like tie-dye or ice-dyed almost looking print that I chose. All right, so just keep that in mind. Jenny says, if you sew the sides and include a belt, could you use it as a lounge cover-up for morning coffee? Absolutely. Because it's so open in the front, it would be like wearing a glorified sort of robe, right? So very, very easy. And yes, a simple concept, someone just said as well. So let me take you through it. First, we're going to sew our sides, or excuse me, no, we're not. First, we're going to sew the ties. Okay, so I mentioned that we're going to start with 2 yards of fabric. You're going to cut the 2 yards of fabric in half so that you have 2 1-yard cuts. From one of those 1-yard cuts, you're going to cut your strap pieces. And definitely refer to the blog post to know how to cut them. and to know what pieces you're going to need. So you'll have 2 1-yard pieces. Then you're going to take 1 1-yard piece and cut that in half lengthwise. So you've got 2 kind of long pieces for your front and then a 1-yard piece for your back. Okay? They're going to match as far as length goes. From the 2 pieces in the front, you're going to cut 2 strips off of those pieces, and those are going to be your ties. Your ties can be as long as you want them to be. You can keep them the entire length of those pieces, or you can cut them to the dimensions that I recommended in the instructions on the blog. So we've got our 2 strips, our 2 front pieces, and then our back piece. You could set aside the back piece, set aside the 2 fronts, and we're going to work with those strips to create the ties that keeps it closed in the front. So with those ties, we're going to fold them in half lengthwise with right sides together. And I used my serger for this. I kind of went back and forth between my serger and my sewing machine to construct this garment just to make things easier for me. I find if I'm working with a slippery fabric, my serger just whips right through it. But you know, I also wanted a really nice double fold, non-puckery hem as well. And since this is a little bit transparent fabric, you can almost see through it. I didn't want those, you know, serger looper and serger stitches to be shown inside of my hem. So that's why I did some things on the serger, some things on the sewing machine. But you could certainly use your sewing machine for the entire garment as well. So I sewed 1 short end, and then I sewed the whole long edge of both of my ties. And then I used a sulky turning tool to gently turn my straps, or my ties rather, right side out. So you'll place your turning tool, sort of the fat end of your turning tool. The sulky multi-purpose turning tool has 2 ends to it. You can see one is fatter and it's kind of egg-shaped. That's the edge you want to use against that, you know, short end seam so that you can start pushing your tie right side out. You don't want to show, or you don't want to use this really small ballpoint tip because you're probably going to go right through the stitches. So you want to use that flat egg-shaped end and start pushing your tie right side out. And then you can kind of pull your whole tie so that it's right side out, and you can give it a little bit of a press. Make sure that the fabric that you're using can withstand the heat of an iron before you press with an iron. You might want to finger press. Mine was just fine with a low temperature iron. So you want to press it nice and flat. Make sure you're not stretching anything while you're sewing. And you'll have your 2, it's so slippery, it's falling off of my lap while I'm talking about it. Julie wants the link to the turning tool. The turning tool is linked in the description of today's post. You'll find it there. If you're not seeing the whole description, click on where it says see more or more, and then the whole description will pop out. You'll find links for everything that I'm talking about today. All right, so turning tool, amazing tool. Love that it has 2 tips on it. You can use it for so many things. You can also run your turning tool, the smaller ballpoint end, kind of along that seam line after you get it right side out, and it'll flatten it out nice for you so you can then give it a nice press, make sure everything's nice and flat. Then we will set aside our ties for later, and we're going to work on hemming the edges of all of our half cut 1-yard pieces and the backing piece. So we're going to fold the long edges of all 3 of those pieces because, again, they're left open and flowy. You do not need to do anything with the upper edge because that's how we're going to sew the garment together. So we're going to do the side edges, and then we're also going to do the hem. And I did the hem a little bit wider than I did those side edges. And I just double folded them and sewed a straight stitch down along, that inner fold, so that all of my seam allowances are, or all of my raw edges rather, are enclosed. So you can do this a number of ways. If you have a little bit more stable fabric that's not as slippery as the one I used, you can double fold and press and then sew. You can also, which is what I did, use some Sulky KK2000 temporary spray adhesive to hold your hems in place. So what I like to do is I spray the raw edge and then I do my first fold. Make sure it's nice and straight. Then I spray that and do my second fold. Then I sew along it. So this is going to stabilize that seam, make sure it's not puckery while you're sewing it, and it's air soluble. So after about 48 to 72 hours, it is going to dissipate into the air like you never used it at all. And honestly, if you get a little bit of overspray on the rest of your fabric yardage, just leave it alone. It will dissipate over the course of a couple of days and you'll be good to go. It is really, really great for things like this. I've even done binding folds this way to make sure that my binding isn't stretching while I'm sewing it on a quilt or table runner or something. I'll spray it with a little bit of KK2000 before I do that final fold to the back of my quilt or project. And you can, add a couple of wonder clips there as well for extra security, but it's a really, really great tool for that. So that's why you can see while I'm sewing this, I don't have any pins in the fabric. I don't have any clips in the fabric. You can also use a Clover hot ruler is what it's called. When you're pressing your fabric, the hot ruler is this really, really thin ruler that can withstand the heat of an iron, even super hot temperatures. So you can do your first fold around the hot ruler, and that ensures that you have a really nice straight edge against the ruler while you're pressing it. Then do your second fold around the hot ruler, press it with some good steam, if you're using a fabric that can withstand steam, of course. And then you have a really nice crisp edge for all of those really long seams that you need to sew. All right. So we're going to do our side edges and then our lower edge hems, which again has a little bit of a wider hem allowance to it. And at this point, or actually before you hem it, I really suggest kind of hanging up at least one of your front panels and put the upper edge along where your shoulder seam is going to be and let it hang off of your body. Look at yourself in the mirror and kind of determine how long you want this thing to be. So if you're, shorter than 5 foot, then you're probably going to want to cut off a good amount of those 1 yard pieces so that, it's maybe a little bit right above your knee, for example, or maybe you want it longer. So this is really your chance to kind of decide where you want that hem to hang and then how wide you want your hem allowance to be. And again, keep in mind, you're going to double fold that hem so that your seam allowance is encased. So add that to your hem allowance as well to make sure it's sitting at the right spot. All right, so after we hem that lower edge, now we're going to mark and measure our back piece for where our front pieces are going to be sewn, okay? So we're going to fold our back piece in half so that right sides are together. And I just clipped into that center fold at the upper edge, just clipped into it a little bit. That's my marking for my center back. You can also just mark it with a removable fabric marker, but be careful with using pins for marking and for securing your hems and edges, because with some fabrics, a pin might snag especially if you're not using super sharp, very brand new pins, it might snag your fabric either when you're inserting it or taking it out. And I would hate for you to go through all this trouble and then just to pull out a pin and have it snag all the way down your fabric. So I just leave pins out of the equation entirely. That's why I'm marking with a little bit of a snip rather than a pin or something like this. So now you can see my little snip is in there representing my center back. And I'm going to measure about 3.5 inches from that mark on both sides. This is going to be my back neckline area. Okay, so we're going to measure that. I just used a little bit of fabric chalk to mark along that 3.5 inches line from that center back clip. And now we're going to place our fronts on our backs, or on our back rather, with right sides facing. So our edges are going to match that 3.5 inch mark as well as our back hem edge. Is everybody with me? So you're going to have some fabric. Basically, our front is not going to match up with our back. It's going to be flowy because we want that front to have a little bit of drape to it and not just be this straight, piece of fabric. So we're going to take and just do some free-form pleats so that our front matches with our back. And I measured mine a certain, width, and that is all mentioned in the blog post. But you can also just create your center pleat and then measure equidistantly for both pleats on either side. So you have 3 just kind of free-form pleats, and they're all folding towards the outer edge of your garment, so away from center front. And I did use pins here, so just be very careful if you are going to use your pins for your pleats, or you can use some Wonder Clips to hold those in place. You're going to do that for both the right side and the left side, and have those right sides together with your back piece. All right, so I guess I don't have a picture of me sewing those in place, but you're going to go ahead, you can sew them or baste them in place. And what I did was I took this to my serger and I serged it down the entire length, including that open neckline area. So now that has a serged edge to it and everything else has been serged together. But again, you can take this to your sewing machine and sew a straight stitch and then just zigzag the edge to make sure that that raw edge has a little bit more stability or coverage rather. All right, so now you can see my neckline edge has that serged finish to it because I used my serger, a 4-thread overlock, to serge along that entire edge, which enclosed or became my shoulder seam and my open neck area. So the open neck area, I just fold that serged edge to the wrong side and I pinned again, but I pinned horizontally so that, I'm not having more pinholes going down into the garment. Once you pin that, you can top stitch it down so that, you have a nice finished edge around your neck. So now what you're looking at is basically the armhole area or the outer edges of one of the sides of the garment. We're going to measure down to where our tie is going to be. And we're going to mark that with a little fabric marker, some chalk, or, a little Wonder Clip. And I guess I measured down maybe 13 or so inches. And, this is going to fit almost anyone. If you want a little bit more of an opening, you can go down to 15 inches. But, it's going to be really open here under your armpit. So I just, kind of eyeballed it and I thought 13 inches was pretty good. I made a mark. Now I'm going to mark from that 13 inches and I just put a pin in so that you could see where that line is. And I'm going to come over 1.5 inches and make another mark. This is how we're going to close our little sleeves. So I marked about maybe 2 inches or so vertical from our side hems. And along that little 2.5 inch, 3-inch line, that's all our sleeve seam is. That's all it needs to be. It's just holding those 2 layers together so we can insert our arms and we have a little connection spot. So someone did mention, let's sew it all the way down from that sleeve portion and have ourselves a robe. You could certainly do that, but you want to make sure to put your fronts and backs right sides together and just sew along your little hem edge there that you created and then turn it right side out, add your ties. You'd be good to go with, a robe that is more connected along the side edges. But for this, I just sewed it about maybe 3 inches or so to have just a little opening for our sleeve. So here is that seam. And man, it does look pretty puckered here. But again, to my eye, it looks just fine when I'm looking at it in real life. So I really don't know if that's just the shadowing of the thread, the nature of this fabric, and or a combination of the lighting that I was using in the photography. So just that little seam, our fronts and backs are sewn together along that line on both edges. And now we're going to measure again just to make sure that our ties go in the right place. So we're measuring now along the front, not the side edge where we just measured. We're measuring along the center front pieces of those 1-yard cuts that have been hemmed. We're going to measure down about 13 inches for our ties. So now our ties are going to be in the same place as the bottom edge of our sleeve seam. Everyone with me? Give me some thumbs up. Let me know you're following along. Then we're going to take this over to the machine and we are going to sew those ties so that the straight raw edge of our tie is matched up with our folded edge of that center front hem. And we're going to sew along that center front hem stitching line. Then we're going to fold our tie to the right side and stitch it down along that hemmed fold. This encloses the raw edges of the tie and gives it a little bit more stability, longevity, right? Because we've got 2 seams holding it there. And again, also enclosing those raw edges. And you want to make sure that seam line of your tie is facing downward so that, we don't really see it when we're wearing it. So you're going to do that to both center front edges. I also like to just give a little knot to the end of my tie. You could leave your tie as is because as you remember when we made the ties, we sewed along that short end. So it's a finished edge there. But I just thought it looked kind of boxy after I had it sewn to the garment. So I just knotted the end a little bit just to give it a little bit more of a, decorative touch to it. And then I thought maybe I want to really gild the lily here and add some decorative trim because my Mrs. Roper outfit, as I'm now referring to it because it is so outlandish, the color and everything that I chose. So it is now called Mrs. Roper. Shout out to Three's Company, everyone. Yes. Anyway, I thought, let's gild the lily and I'm going to add some fun trim to this. So I found this woven trim and I kind of auditioned it on the edge of the garment. And quite frankly, I just thought it was just competing. I just didn't think that this style of trim went with the garment. So that one was out. Then I found this really sparkly, kind of gem-like trim. And I put that on there and I thought this is going to look really cool. When I auditioned it on here, I pinned it on and I wore it and it really wore down the garment. It was just too heavy for it. So I decided to forego the trim idea altogether, but I did want to show you guys just kind of my thought process for it, because if you did use a batik, or if you used a border print or like a flowy cotton fabric, that a trim or a ribbon or, hey, even maybe some pom-pom fringe would look really cute, either just top stitched to the center front seams or top stitched to the hemline. So just another way to kind of elevate it a little bit and add a little bit more decoration to the garment. So mine is, I hesitate to say that it's plain because the fabric is so vibrant and colorful and busy. But I did forego the trim idea, but you might want to add that too, which would also cover up, where you added those ties as well and give you a little bit more, just more structure for that as well. So you could see just how large it is when I'm like pulling it away from my body. Great coverage for the beach, for a summer walk, just for wearing with jeans and a tee as well. And you could use a whole slew of different fabrics to make this your own, and make it for, how you want to wear it and to work with the items in your closet as well. This would be really great for traveling, especially taking on our Bali tour. Just get a fabric that isn't really prone to wrinkles, so you can kind of roll it up, throw it in your bag, wear it for a number of different things. And it's just a really easy project. And, let's face it, when we make a garment, we want it to be as easy as possible. At least I do, so that I actually can have some instant gratification, make it in an afternoon, and, wear it that evening if I want to. All right. So someone is saying, is this stretch fabric? And it is not stretch fabric. There's no stretch to it at all. It's just a very slippery fabric. So to tame that slipperiness, I used KK2000 to secure all of my hem edges, and it worked really Great. I also used a combination of my serger and my sewing machine, depending on where and how I was sewing it. And yes, very similar to a kimono pattern, absolutely. You could add a really pretty, sort of like a facing edge to that front seam too. That would really elevate it and add another fabric maybe to it. But I also think if you're able to find a really pretty border print fabric, this is the perfect project for that. All right. Tracy says, very cute design. Loving pom-pom trim. We might need a support group for pom-pom trim because I'm always talking about it. Colorful pom-poms are awesome. They would work really great. And yes, adding like a lace trim, or someone is saying a daisy trim would be really cute, depending on, the fabric that you're using for it as well. All right. So let's switch gears yet again now to our accessory that I wanted to show off for you today, because this is available at sulky.com as a sew-along kit plus pattern plus video. So once you purchase the kit at sulky.com, you get access to the entire video tutorial start to finish. So you can sew along at your own pace virtually, and have everything you need right in front of you. You can watch this on a tablet, on your phone. If you have a computer next to your sewing machine, you can watch it that way. You can even cast it to a TV if you happen to have a TV in your crafty space wherever you choose to sew. And you get a flippable pattern booklet that is a digital pattern booklet along with the PDF. So if you'd rather print it out, you have it that way as well. Also, on the page where the video lives is a Q&A box at the very bottom. So if you have questions while you're going along, you can just type your question right into that box. We all get pinged for it, and we can get you the answers that you need relatively quickly. So as you're working along, you have tons of sulky support behind you. So this is our crossbody case. This is a case that is totally open at the top. It's really designed so that you can slip your phone inside, maybe a small wallet or some cash and your ID, and you're out the door. You can also remove the strap really easily with these D-rings. You can just remove the strap and put this into a larger tote bag or backpack or what have you, and have all of those essentials that you need right in your larger tote bag when you're going, when you're traveling or something like this and you need a larger bag or more space. So it's really great, again, for traveling for that reason, because if you just need a couple of things for an excursion, you can grab up the whole thing with the strap. If you are going somewhere where you want your backpack or a larger tote bag, then you can remove these and keep your things all encased in the same area. So the crossbody case, it measures about 7 inches across and about 8 inches high. The depth is really only about 3/4 of an inch to an inch. So it doesn't have a base to it. But what I love about this is, do you see how the front of the case, the piecing on the front, looks kind of like a thread spool? Isn't that cute? So we have, and I apologize that I'm showing you my version. This was actually my prototype for this bag. So this is not done up in the kit fabrics, but the pretty teals and the gray faux leather that you're seeing in this pattern cover, those are the kit fabrics. So let me show you that really quick while I'm talking about the features of the bag. So this is what comes in the kit, and the kit's only $39.99. What? I know. $39.99, you get the kit, the video, the pattern, the flippable book, the Q&A, all the sulky support, only $39.99. It's nutso. So you're going to get some faux leather that you're going to use for the back of the bag, as well as the accents on the front and that adjustable removable strap. In my prototype, my strap is very small because I was conserving this precious faux leather. You will make a much longer strap for your crossbody case, and I'll show you that in a minute. You'll also get these really, really pretty sewing themed fabrics. Because we have that wink and a nudge to our thread spool, we are bringing in that sewing theme as well. And once you piece it all together, it's kind of hard to decipher that it's a sewing print, but right? You have the intel. And that pretty lining fabric with all the sewing themed motifs in it as well. Also 3 different thread spools. One you're going to use for quilting, one you're going to use for construction, and there's another thread spool that's also for construction based on whether you're doing the piecing or whether you're sewing the faux leather, because we need a little bit stronger thread when we're working with the faux leather than we do when we're doing our piecing on those quilting cotton fabrics. So we've got 3 thread spools, and then we also need 2 different types and sizes of needles, depending on which thread we're working with. You also get all the great hardware that we're going to use to create our removable straps. So you get some square rings, also a swivel clip that makes your strap removable, and you also get some little rivets which make creating your strap so much easier. You don't have to stitch through all these layers of faux leather, which can be kind of cumbersome, even if you have a really big fat needle. We don't, first of all, want to create big old holes in the faux leather, but adding these rivets instead of stitching across here makes it really, really strong and adds another decorative element. So you'll get those as well. And then, of course, your buckle slide, which is making your strap adjustable. So you can wear it really close to your body. You can wear it really crossbody and longer, depending on where you like to carry your phone, carry your goodies, all of that. So I do want to mention, I have one of these phone cases that has this attached to it. And I absolutely love it for a lot of different reasons. But I also don't like that my phone is just swinging out there in the universe, hitting things, all kinds of stuff. I mean, look what I got going on here. Hitting stuff. I got a crack in there. I mean, and thankfully the crack is on the case cover, but it's just really more prone to getting smashed up. So enter the crossbody case instead. That's a little bit larger than basically the largest phone I could find on the market to size it. My phone fits in here just fine with a little bit of room at the top, and I have a 14 Pro Max, so I have quite a large phone. And it would also fit, you know, horizontally inside as well to give you a little bit more room to add, you know, a small wallet or a coin purse, something like that. All right. So great kit, great price on the kit. I did want to show you, you know, these are the really cute fabrics that come for the piecing for the front. You might get a scissor on yours. You might get some buttons depending on how it was cut and which fabric or which kit you get. But there are really great ways that you can quilt this piece so that it does look like a thread spool. So you can see I've just quilted along random lines so it looks like thread is wound around the middle of that thread spool. Then we add the pieces on the top, the pieces on the bottom, the pieces on the side so that it's the top and bottom of our thread spool, creating that, you know, sort of like skinny thread center, mimicking sort of a sulky snap spool. Really, really cute. Then, of course, we have our adjustable strap with that great gunmetal hardware finish that really just elevates it from, you know, something handmade to, you know, something that looks really professionally done and finished. And there is our adjustable buckle slide, sized perfectly for the strap that we're using. So once you grab up this kit, again, you will get directions for adding the sew-along video and pattern and all the digital help and everything like that, adding that to your personal library at sewingonline.sulky.com, where we have all of our education. So then that will be also stored in your personal library and you will have access to it forever, just like with our events. You can refer to it at any time if you want to make more crossbody cases, use some different fabrics, things like this. So I hope that you grab those up. Once they're gone, they're gone. They are a limited edition kit and sew-along package. So I hope you can enjoy that and make lots of crossbody kits. All right, so lots to cover today, I know, but I hope that I gave you some inspiration for some summer makes. And as we are transitioning to fall, which is going to be here before we know it, I think you'll really enjoy adding this Pinnacle table runner to your home decor and really just learning the method and the different ways that we can mix and match this block so that it looks totally different. You could make one of these for every single holiday and not anyone would be pieced the same way. So different sort of peaks and valleys of this block. And I'll share all of those with you during the free webcast on August 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. All right. Lynn says, I'm interested in sewing faux leather. There's a lot of tips and tricks included in the video that come with that kit about managing the faux leather, about how to create narrow straps out of faux leather, different notions and tools you can try so that it stays together and doesn't have that ripple effect that you might get when you're sewing really narrow things together. And of course, a full tutorial on how to insert those rivets so that you're doing it with the right rivet setting tool and all kinds of things. So yeah, Brenda says it's really more of a wallet. I know so many of us have to carry around so many things, but that's why I love that this strap is removable so that you can put this into a larger tote, and then maybe when you get to where you're going, you can transition to using your adjustable strap and just have your essentials on you. Like if you're just headed to the movies or you're just headed, to the store for a couple of things, you don't need your entire tote, and you can have your wallet and your phone at the ready. So just a different style and a different kind of take on things. Plus with that pretty piecing. All right. Anita says, this is some super cute fabric in that crossbody kit. Yes, I love it as well. I love a sewing themed print, of course. Loretta says, I love Sulky's kits. I have made several purses from them and they are wonderful. Thank you. Love that. Leslie says, could fat quarters work for the bag? You could start with a fat quarter, but you are going to want to feature some different prints for your piecing, I think. I think that really adds a lot of color and play to the project. And you really only need a very small amount of fabric for these strips. So, it might be able to work with some things that you have on hand. But again, you're going to get the whole shebang out of the kit. You'll get all of these strips. You'll get the fabrics for the top and bottom of your thread spool, as well as the lining. And then, of course, you need this faux leather. And what's great about the kit is you get just what you need of the faux leather. You don't have to go out and buy a whole half of a yard of faux leather. And, faux leather can get really pricey. So it's really nice that these are all pre-cut for you in the dimensions that you need to then cut for your piecing and your straps and stuff. So it makes it really affordable. You don't have to go spending a whole lot on a big piece of faux leather and then have this leftover chunk. You know what I mean? So that's why the kit is a really great idea. All right. Colleen says, I love the crossbody. I need to order. I'm a kit person. I love them. Exactly. Kits just make it so easy. You can just open your box, turn on the video, start organizing things, and get right to the sewing. I just find that locating all the items that I need, cutting all the items that I need, when I finally get to the sewing, it's like the sewing was such a minimal part of the whole process. So if we can get right to the sewing and enjoy that process a little bit more, I think, it's a great idea. And if you're looking to get to that free shipping threshold at sulky.com, which we do offer free shipping on $60 purchases, you can grab up that crossbody case kit, which is $38.99. Grab up your Pinnacle table runner kit, or actually maybe the crossbody is $39.99. Pinnacle table runners $38.99. You get the idea. I might be $1 off here and there, but you can grab up both of those kits and you'll be at free shipping. So you might as well get both of them together and not have to pay anybody to come to your door with your goodies. Love that. All right. Susie says, I'm ready. Great area to embroider on too. Actually, with the kit, there is instructions for making this part solid and adding the machine embroidery design to it. So you're on the right track, and you will get that information when you get the kit, and you can read all about that in the pattern as well. Jana says, I'm a kit person too, mostly because my own fabric choices stink. Yes, some of us are challenged in that way, where we just aren't seeing how these fabrics can coordinate together. So I hear you, girl. I hope you enjoy the crossbody kit for that reason as well. All right, so I think I'm caught up on questions. If I'm not, and you have a question for us that I didn't answer today, you can always email us at info@sulky.com, and we will get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for joining me today on Sew What, and be sure to tune in next Tuesday for another episode so that we can share this time together. And I have another great project planned for next week as well. And we're getting closer and closer to our Ireland tour. Colleen, I'll see you in a couple short weeks. And check out our Bali tour, because you are going to need to strut your stuff in your new beach cover-up on our Bali trip with Craft Tours in October. So check that out as well. Use the dedicated link I put in the description of today's post to head on over to the Sulky Craft Tours page so that you're sure to sign up for the right Bali tour, or at least for the sulky Bali tour, I should say, because they have so many tours over there to check out. And we want to make sure that you join me in Bali if that is what you're trying to do. All right, so thanks so much, everyone, and I'll see you next Tuesday for another